Now part of the Darkcast network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a dark side. She begged for food, cried through glued lips, and was tied to a crib while adults looked the other way. Violet Mitchell wasn't just failed by her family, she was failed by everyone. Today I tell you a case of unimaginable child abuse. Right now on Love and Murder. Some relationships are supposed to protect, but sometimes the people closest to a child are the ones who cause the most harm. This is Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide, the podcast that takes you inside the darkest corners of love gone wrong. My name is Kai, and today's case involves child abuse and may be difficult to hear. Listener discretion is advised. Now I invite you to take a seat, take a listen all the way to the end, and if you like my retelling, then please subscribe so you don't miss any other cases. You can also subscribe for free on our Patreon, patreon.com/Love and Murder. You do get some benefits in the free tier, but to get extra episodes, early release episodes, to help me keep the victims' stories shouted to the rooftops, and more, then choose a bonus tier starting at $3 a month and up. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. Also, so you know up front, this is a mini episode because I'm off this week, and I'll tell you all the details when I come back next week. Now, grab your butts, grab your glass of apple juice, and let's get into this Love and Murder. On August 2nd, 2024, around 11:30 a.m., Lisa Mitchell and her boyfriend, Anthony Yanko, walked into St. Anthony's Medical Center in Oklahoma with Lisa's 7-year-old daughter, Violet. Violet wasn't moving. Wrapped in a blanket and wearing a diaper, 7 years old. Wearing a diaper meant for a 3-year-old, Violet Mitchell weighed just 29 pounds, where some reports did say 25, so I'm going to say between 25 and 29 pounds. She was pronounced dead less than an hour after arriving. The doctors saw right away that something was wrong. Violet was, quote, essentially skin and bones, with sunken eyes, visible injuries on her cheek, shoulder, and leg, and signs of rigor mortis already setting in, which means she'd been dead for some time. There was also this dark red and black secretions coming from her mouth when pressure was applied to her stomach. The hospital staff called the medical examiner's office immediately. On November 17th, the autopsy report listed cause of death as, quote, failure to thrive due to, quote, proximal small intestine obstruction by a foreign body. That foreign body was the rubber top of a baby bottle nipple, which had become lodged in her intestines. It was unclear if the object was swallowed accidentally or intentionally. She was 40 inches tall, about the height of a 3-year-old, and weighed just 29 pounds. So like I told y'all, between 25 to 29 pounds. According to CDC growth charts, the average weight of a 7-year-old girl is around 50 pounds, and Violet was half of that. The autopsy also confirmed a bacterial infection and the injuries mentioned by the hospital staff. All of this told the story that this wasn't sudden. This was from starvation and long-term abuse. As investigators began to piece together what happened, the stories provided by those responsible raised immediate red flags. 31-year-old Lisa and 37-year-old Anthony initially claimed that they thought Violet had the flu and had been feeding her only soup and crackers. Now, Anthony's story changed multiple times during the interviews with police. He initially claimed that only he, Lisa, and Violet were in the apartment. Later, he said that Lisa's sister, boyfriend, and several other children were there as well when he woke up to Lisa telling him that Violet wasn't moving. He even claimed Violet weighed 50 pounds and was, quote, completely healthy just 4 or 5 days before, but had no explanation for her emaciated state at the hospital. Are you also going to say that she was as tall as a normal 7-year-old, like 4 or 5 days before this happened? Police began interviewing family members and neighbors. A cousin, another 7-year-old girl, told officers that Lisa routinely tied Violet's arms and legs to a crib with zip ties and strings. If she cried, Lisa and Anthony would curse at her and withhold food. She said Lisa allegedly beat Violet, quote, mostly with a broomstick and even glued her mouth shut. The cousin said that she sometimes untied Violet when she could and run out of the apartment to stop the beating. She would also try to, quote, dig glue out of her mouth to help her breathe. She also said Violet had once been left tied to the crib for a month straight. Family members admitted that Violet, quote, was starving and beaten frequently and, quote, couldn't walk or feed herself. And to that I say the only person who physically or in any other way tried to save her was her 7-year-old cousin. So y'all are like, yeah, she was starving and beaten frequently, and yeah, she couldn't feed or walk herself, but meh. But only the 7-year-old cousin tried to help her? And y'all are talking to the police like with straight... I couldn't be a cop. I couldn't be a cop. Oh my God. They're saying this with straight faces, like, what could we do? Yeah, she couldn't walk. She was 7. We couldn't pick up the phone and call anybody on it. We couldn't do anything. Our hands were tied. The only person who tried to save that girl was her 7-year-old cousin. Neighbors also told similar stories. One woman, Tara Day, said she fed Violet just 2 days before she died. Quote, she looked malnourished. I took her in because she was hungry. I gave her chicken nuggets, mashed potatoes, and carrots. Tara also remembered Violet crying, saying, quote, she didn't tell me anything about her parents, just that they loved her. That's all she said. And she cried, and I took her back home. So throughout all this, she still didn't even talk badly about her parents. Shortly after Violet was pronounced dead, police received a tip from a family member who had overheard a group phone call between Lisa, Anthony, Lisa's sister, 25-year-old Tiffany Mitchell, and Anthony's brother, 25-year-old David Yanko. According to the caller, they were, quote, trying to come up with the same story regarding the death of Violet. The caller also said that all 4 of them were heard admitting that they knew Violet was dead before she had been taken to the hospital. So, police arrested all 4 adults. Look, I'm sorry, I would have gone further than that. Anybody who knew this was happening as an adult and didn't do anything, didn't make a phone call, didn't even try and take her, didn't do anything, all of y'all would have been arrested too. Lisa and Anthony were charged with both first and second-degree murder. Tiffany and David were charged with second-degree murder and child neglect for allegedly knowing about the abuse but doing nothing to stop it. When questioned, David told police that he was the one who drove them to the hospital that morning. He said Anthony was, quote, freaking out and that Lisa carried Violet to the van wrapped in a blanket. David claimed he didn't know if Violet was alive or not. He dropped them off and left them because, quote, he was afraid and needed to go to work. I mean, priorities, am I right? And this dude is sitting here freaking out for something that he did. Well, allegedly, because the case is still ongoing, so. Police records show that Violet had not been taken to the doctor in years. I mean, yeah, because she was still the size of a 3-year-old, and she was 7. Doctors would have, well, in an ideal situation, doctors would have called CPS and the police at that time. I say an ideal situation because I do have cases where even the doctors didn't do anything. Lisa and Anthony had other children in the home, and those children are now in the care of the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. All 4 defendants pleaded. What do you think they pled, lambs? Let me hear it. Sound off. That's right. Not guilty. Lisa, Anthony, and Tiffany are each being held on a $5 million bond, while David's bond is set at $1 million. Court records showed that Lisa's next hearing was scheduled for November 27th, 2024. David's was scheduled for December 5th, Anthony's for January 22nd, and Tiffany for March 10th. But as usual, I saw no updates. It was just probably preliminary court hearings, so you really don't see any updates on that. But I don't know when the trial is supposed to start for these four, but I will put this on my update list to follow up with. Neighbor Bridget McCullough said, quote, "They should spend the rest of their life in jail because that's a baby. That is a baby. They are so helpless." Another neighbor, Kimberly Pointer, said, quote, "The fact that she suffered and nobody was there to help her, it's just senseless." I agree. Except for that 7-year-old cousin, everybody just sat there and watched. This wasn't just neglect. Violet Mitchell was starved, beaten, humiliated, and dehumanized. She was tied up, had her mouth glued shut, and left to die, while the people around her made excuses, stayed silent, or tried to cover it up. And when help finally did come, it was too late. This case should never have happened. She was only 7 years old. And somehow, after all of that, her final words to a neighbor were about how much her parents loved her. Now, if that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what will, because my heart is, ugh. If you suspect child abuse, call the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4-A-CHILD. That's 1-800-422-4453, or go to childhelp.org. Be as brave as that 7-year-old cousin. Don't be as cowardly as everyone else. All calls are toll-free and confidential. So if you didn't want your name to be put in it, it is confidential. Be brave. The hotline is available 24/7 in more than 170 languages. So let me know your thoughts on this case in the comments. Like I said, I will put this in my update pile so I can keep track of it. And if you want to support content that brings stories like Violet's to light, then join the Lamb Fam in our Patreon, patreon.com/love and murder, where you can support the stories starting at only $3 a month. But I do want to end this by saying, most of all, pay attention. Check on the kids around you. If something feels off, say something, because children like Violet deserved so much more. And that's all I have for you in today's episode. And like I end every full episode, I want to remind you that it's, say it with me now, all love and no murder, y'all.